One of the things that makes web development difficult is doing the cross-browser thing. It's gotten better over the years, but it's still really, really hard. Doing add-ons is extreme of that. How's that going to get better in the future?
Well, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that bait. So building things for different systems is always going to require either lowest common denominator development or specialization for environment. There's probably some proof I don't understand because I don't have enough math of that. I think we are starting to see, though, convergence on certain types of add-on and customization across multiple browsers, right? You look at pieces in Chrome, I don't know if it's in the 1.0, but we saw Aaron's work land to support Greasemonkey scripts natively. You see those in Firefox with Greasemonkey, you see them in Opera with User.js. You probably will never see them in Safari. They're not here to defend themselves, so I figured I'd take one shot. You see similar things with customization of appearance through CSS. You see that in a number of environments. Customization of script for sites that Opera's had for a long time. So we'll see convergence on things where you're mostly facing content, but you're always going to have differences in applications there. And I think it would be probably a mistake to try and funnel all of those down to a uniform set of contact points and give up. I mean, one of the great things about the browser market today is it makes sense for another company to make a browser, right? It makes sense for Apple to make a browser for Windows for some of their strategic needs. The choice of browser is really significant, and I think we want to be able to preserve the vitality of that ecosystem and the meaningfulness of that choice, if you will, which means you're going to have different capabilities exposed, and I think that's one of the costs of that freedom.
I look at it from a slightly different perspective, which is the perspective of a web developer. And it's not just extensions that are hard to build across browser, it's also websites that are hard to build across browsers. And it's getting better over time as we start to see more of a move towards standards, and we really applaud IE8 for pushing standards mode as a default, because that's good for everybody. It's good for developers, it's good for us. When we think about extensions, we think about how to push more of the functionality into making the web platform richer by letting people use richer functions in HTML. So we look at HTML5 and all the cool things you can do in HTML5, and it's pushing the boundaries of what happens in the content area. So you don't have to do as much crazy stuff in native code. You don't have to do as much crazy stuff as an extension. You can do more stuff in content. And there are some things, like Mike was saying, that it's not just about the content. It's not just Greasemonkey. It's also you want to customize the browser. And those things, to some extent, you can do a lot of that stuff with the web model and the APIs that are already existing. You need some other APIs in some cases to extend the browser, and those are inherently going to be browser specific. I think that's absolutely right, and when you're trying to change the way the browser works, you're going to have to talk to the browser code, and the browser code's not going to be the same. So for those kind of extensions, I think there's going to be more pain and suffering ahead. But there's probably a large class of extensions that want to deal with the content and that want to do stuff that's really browser agnostic. And those things can leverage the existing mechanisms of the web and leverage HTML and JavaScript to do them.
Yeah, so I just have to agree completely with that. The areas where you're going to see the convergence is just naturally going to be when you focus more on web standards and you're using web standards to build these extensions, because that's where we're all converging anyway. And really, it's when you talk about how hard it is to write cross-browser pages, just not even extensions, we're talking about IE6 still has 20% market share and it's 10 years old. That's really the problem. So as soon as we can get IE6 replaced with more modern browsers, then that problem kind of fixes itself. I think the other thing that kind of drives convergence is just now that Internet Explorer is catching up in terms of standards, and we can start to focus in future versions on extensibility. And we talked to all of you guys about what you want. There's obviously going to be a lot of what you're asking for that looks similar to what you're getting in the other browsers, particularly in Firefox, and so it's just natural that Greasemonkey's an obvious example of something that kind of works across browsers now, but it's just natural there will be some convergence there.